Hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am so excited about this presentation. But before I dive in, I'd love to hear who's here live with me in the chat room because you're what makes this presentation so juicy. So don't leave me alone with myself and my notes. Please let me know who's here and please feel free to be engaged because there's a lot of things I'm going to be asking you. And the more you show up today, the more you're going to get out of today's experientials. So again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to show up for yourself today and to hang out with me for the next hour. Today, we're going to be talking about how to get your energy back from trauma, but without having to drain yourself or spend years in therapy doing so. So the question I'm going to ask you is, have you ever felt like you were missing pieces from your past? Maybe you had a heartbreak, a traumatic accident, or have been suffering from wounds from childhood like being bullied or abandoned. I mean, we're human. We all have emotional wounds from the past. What are some of your lingering blocks in life? Go ahead, please don't be shy. Share in the chat box. What are some things that have come up for you? Maybe you lost your job. You felt betrayed or had a series of shitty things happen in life that left you changed, drained, and just feeling different. Have you ever felt checked out? Are you tired of feeling drained by a soul-sucking job or a bad relationship where, little by little, you feel like parts of you chip away because you're not happy with life? Or maybe you're just sick and tired of the old patterns playing out, keeping you stuck, like the same cycles with partners or old blocks that keep coming up no matter what you do. So what are some of those blocks for you? Because instead of all these patterns and feeling sick and stuck and drained by all of those patterns, can you imagine feeling like the best version of yourself? Magnetic, confident, energy and sassy, like nothing in life ever changed you or jaded you. Can you imagine feeling like your true self again? Full of energy, like how you used to feel before whatever experiences made you feel sad and less alive. Well, today, you're in the right place if you know that you're meant to make the world a better place. And also if you're ready to awaken your intuition and activate your innate superpowers. And if you're ready to feel re-energized and whole, ready to take your power back from the past and with you to create a better future. Because in the next hour, I'm going to share how you can get your power back painlessly without having to pour out your feelings in therapy and actually start feeling better faster, even if nothing else has worked before. And don't forget, at the end of the webinar, I'm going to give you a secret link to my spirit activation meditation for getting quickly aligned with your clearest, best version of yourself to raise your vibration and become a magnet for your juiciest desires. So make sure to put down any distractions and be here now, because what I'm about to tell you could literally reintroduce you to pieces of your power you've been missing for a lifetime. But before we get into that, some of you who might not know me, I'm Kristen Von Fox, and I'm a soul retrieval specialist. I help humans who've been through the hard stuff, breakups, betrayals, loss, childhood traumas, and life transitions that left you feeling drained, changed, and stuck, get your power, passion, and purpose back effortlessly without having to spend decades in therapy. Now, I was always really passionate about helping people, and I even went to grad school to become a therapist. And I believed it could really help people until I went through my own quarter life crisis and realized that none of these tools I'd been taught were really enough to actually heal me when my world collapsed. Now, what happened was I'd reconnected with one of my first loves, who I'd met of all places at an amusement park on a family trip when I was 17. We became pen pals for almost a decade. And when he came to New York City to visit me during grad school, we fell for each other all over again. And he convinced me to get married so that he could come live in the States from Scotland. And I was young and in love, so I said yes, not knowing this dream was about to go south and dismantle my entire life as I knew it. So while I was busy juggling 3 jobs, he burned through my savings. Him and his buddy from Scotland who'd come to visit spent our rent money and we went broke. The day after we had a serious sit down about our finances, I came home to an empty apartment. He'd packed his clothes and was already on a plane back to Scotland, leaving me broke, brokenhearted, and stuck 2 weeks out with no rent. I ended up losing my home. My closest friends headed for the hills, and I felt so freaking stuck. And I was no stranger to trauma. I'd been abused as a kid and had a rough childhood, but this experience took me to a whole new level of depression and defeat. And all my therapy tools felt useless. I'd been changed. I didn't feel like myself anymore. I was tired. I was hopeless. My usual optimistic, happy self had just disappeared. I was dead inside. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I'd lost pieces of my soul. And in the wake of losing everything, surprisingly, my intuition awoke. My life became a series of synchronicities that were guiding me to this ancient practice called soul retrieval. Now, this technique has been practiced by indigenous tribal communities around the world for more than 40,000 years. The idea is that when we go through trauma, we lose bits and pieces of our soul that leave because the trauma was just too much to handle. And those lost pieces take parts of our personality like joy for life and trust. We can either get those pieces back or other things like illness and depression get in. Then we tend to attract more trauma cycles because we're missing key pieces of our power. Integrating soul retrieval into my toolbox, I was able to reclaim my energy from the traumatic relationship, and I was able to get back all the pieces from childhood and a million other hardships throughout life, from getting yelled at in gym class to reclaiming trust and self-love after rape. And I have to say, I have been a little bit nervous about this webinar. Things come up, we do presentations, we get nervous. And I've been spending the last 48 hours doing nonstop soul retrieval on myself to find new places where my power was stuck in the past and in past lives. So I really believe in this healing modality because for the first time in my life, I started to feel juicy, alive, and confident. I had so much more energy and I felt passionate and full. And I'm sharing all of this with you today because I know what it feels like to be stuck, checked out, and victim to old vibrations and old cycles. And now that I've been able to change my life and I've had a decade of success working with my clients using these ancient tools, I just can't keep it a secret anymore. I want you to imagine what your life would be like if you knew how to get all those pieces you lost from past hardships and heartaches. How would you feel? What would your life be like? Because what I'm about to share with you changed my entire life, and it's now your turn to discover the ancient techniques to feeling more energized, hopeful, and alive. What I want to do with you is I want to dive into the different mistakes that people make when they're trying to get better and just move past the past. So the first of these 3 mistakes is just get in touch with your feelings to work out where you're stuck. So let's dig deeper. One way people try to get in touch with their feelings is through therapy. And most of us have probably done this before. And hey, maybe it actually really helped you. I mean, I went to school to become a therapist, so I totally believed in it, at least initially, until I realized that therapy wasn't enough to heal my broken soul. Now, I was able to talk about my feelings, get rational and heady about what was happening by understanding the past at the mental level. But that wasn't helping me feel fun and giddy again like I did before my ex-husband. And the old me was still checked out to lunch. And something I found in all of my therapy work that I did with my clients was that no matter how much my clients talked about their feelings, drew or acted them out, they were still hung up on an old story. The story of how and where they lost their power. And week after week, we just go back to the same story and talk it out all over again. But what I didn't realize until I learned about soul retrieval is that we get stuck in a story when we're missing pieces of our soul there. So here's an example. When I was working at Bellevue Hospital with the mentally ill with chemical dependencies doing art therapy, I had one client named Ronald who drew picture after picture of brick buildings and house after house made of bricks. Now he'd do series of images, draw up whole cities, and every few weeks get triggered by something and rip them all up and self-sabotage his work, usually before an art show. One day, I asked Ronald why he only drew brick buildings. And he said to me, I was sledding with all the kids in the neighborhood. It was a snow day and we lived in the projects next to this little hill. One day, this pretty girl I really liked was there, and it was my turn to go down the hill. But I lost control of the sled and went smack dab into the brick wall. All the kids were laughing, and so was the girl I liked. And then My mom opened up the window and made fun of me out the window, screaming after she'd watched the accident. It was the worst day of my life. I think I draw the bricks all the time because that day changed me, and I never really got over it. For some reason, I'm still fixated on what it was like to crash into those bricks. I was never the same again. And it's true. Sometimes we just hit a brick wall with our healing because talking about something over and over again doesn't actually change the things that happened. And it certainly doesn't get our lost power and self-confidence back. Because the truth is, when we go through a trauma, we experience soul loss, a term indigenous cultures used when part of the soul leaves the body in response to the trauma. Now, this is the same thing therapists call dissociation, where we become disconnected from that innocent, carefree, jovial part of ourselves due, quite frankly, to a shitty life experience. Because some things are just too hard on us emotionally, physically, or spiritually. So a piece of the soul leaves the body as a defense mechanism to preserve the rest of you. And after trauma happens, unless we do the healing work to get to that part of our spirit, we just get stuck with the void and lose access to that happy, trusting, confident part that left. Now, does that resonate with any of you? Looking back, can you recall a time where you felt changed because of something that happened? So to get back to the mistake that we try to make, or that we make when we try to get in touch with our feelings, leads us to the second myth. Just get in touch with your inner child. And this is all super sweet, and it can be healing. But I'm going to say the inner child work alone misses the most crucial step, bringing back the energy that inner child lost, which is the whole reason you'd connect with the inner child in the first place, right? To resolve an issue that shaped you from the past. Now, another myth that I'll bring up is just forgive and forget. And forgiveness is beautiful. It's just not the last step if you've given pieces of yourself away or lost them during that relationship. And that can be why it's so hard to move on and forget in some cases, because your ex still has a piece of your heart or your soul. And sometimes that's actually what's vibrationally in the way of you attracting the relationship that you want, because you're missing pieces of yourself from relationships in the past. Now, I'm going to go down a rabbit hole now and share with you that the same thing happens when you exchange soul parts and someone passes away. It can make you feel like part of you died too. And unless you actually get your power back from these old relationships, they end up haunting you, keeping you from fully moving on with your life and your joy. So anyone ready for a crazy story? Because finding people's lost soul parts is never dull work, I'll tell you that. So years ago, I was partnering with a psychotherapist in Pennsylvania and went to her office to do soul retrieval with her clients. In between sessions, a curious army recruiter whose office was just down the hall, named Dave, kept wandering in from the enchanting sound of the drums. By the end of the weekend, he was begging me for a session. Turns out, not only was Dave a beacon for lost souls with a trail of fallen soldiers that were following him around since active duty, he was still hung up on his ex-girlfriend who had taken her own life. Now, not only did he lose soul parts when he discovered her, he was also still holding on to pieces from the past, and she was holding on to pieces of his soul. So during the healing, I had to help retrieve her lost soul parts from childhood that were causing her to hang on to Dave's energy. And I did this so that they could both be at peace and that she would be available to cross over, because sometimes souls get stuck mainly because they're missing something and they're still looking for it, aka soul parts. And I'll share that this happens in a lot of sessions where people have a parent or a grandparent or a loved one who's passed who just is hanging around because it's like that unfinished business. And sometimes that unfinished business is exchanging energy back and giving you what you gave to them, or vice versa. So in this experience, Dave was totally a believer, because he found that she was holding on to these soul parts of his because she had her own voids created by her absent father that Dave was somehow filling. And when we finished the session, he felt her leave the room, and he felt her leave peacefully. And he said to me that afterwards, he felt so full and alive of life again. His heart had felt like it had died. And finally, now it had come back to life. And I know that this is kind of a wild case story, but the truth is, we give our power away more often than you'd think. And if we don't get those pieces back, we just get stuck in a painful story. So let's look at mistake number 2, where we just try to push past and move on to get over it, right? Move on past your ex who broke your heart, or move on after you were betrayed by a friend. And then you wonder why the heck you just can't get over that lingering thing from the past. And a lot of times we think, yeah, time will heal it. A certain amount of time will eventually pass and I'll forget about how terrible I feel, right? But sometimes, no matter how much time goes by, we still feel like we're missing pieces of our power. And no matter how our loved ones try to support us after heartache, trauma changes the spirit. And it might not be so easy to get over it and feel like ourselves again. And usually, it's the people who are closest to us who notice the soul loss. And they're probably the same humans in your life that get to hear all about who broke your heart. And eventually, some of who are happy to listen start to pull away or become less sensitive to hearing about the same story over and over. Can you relate? Has that ever been you? Or have you tried to hold space for someone repeating their own cycles? In fact, friends are usually the ones who pressure you the most to just get over it and move on, mainly because it's uncomfortable for other people to powerlessly watch you spin the cycle, especially if they can't do anything to actually help you out. So has that been you? Does anyone know any people like that? So we have Tara who says, relationship patterns. I'm really great at finding a partner who are emotionally unavailable. And I'm actually going to be talking about that, Tara. So I'm glad that you brought that up. And Lena says, patterns of feeling like I'm not enough because I'm not making enough money yet. Yes, I'm going to be talking about all of these things. I'm so glad that you're all here. Lauren says, getting treated poorly or blamed for crying or being emotional, and conversely feeling emotional and victimized. Yeah, thank you for being brave and saying that. Sometimes we can go into that victim vibration because we're actually missing the piece of our power that would solve the problem and help us be more of the victor in our situation. Diana says abandonment from childhood and girls are not powerful. And Lena says, I feel exuberant and filled and supported and free with money, feeling like I can make tens of thousands of dollars at a time and get out of credit card debt, feeling empowered like a powerful adult. I love this. These are all beautiful visions. So thank you so much for sharing these with me. And we're going to be able to dive into them deeper in just a few minutes. So thank you for being brave and sharing your truth. So getting back to those slides, I wanted to talk about another thing that people do to move on. Sometimes they just try to give it to a higher power and send it off as a prayer for it to get fixed. And as much as I agree, sending it off to a higher power can be helpful. And I've done this too before. I give it to the angels when it's something that I can't resolve myself. There are cases where it doesn't always help us because there's an action that we need to take to change the pattern, but we're missing a soul part that would help us make that change from the past. So here's an example of someone who's near and dear to my heart, and someone who got stuck because they didn't have the power needed to commit the healthy change they wanted. And Amy was 16 when her parents found out that she and her boyfriend were having sex. They were very religious and grounded her for months, forbidding her to see him. They even moved her after-school job location a few towns over so she wouldn't see him, and didn't even let her go to prom. When Amy's first love was taken away, she lost a huge piece of her power to her parents, especially her father, who made that decision for her. And Amy, years later, ended up in a lousy marriage with an abusive, unfaithful partner who she grew up with as a friend. She married him mainly because he was a good Christian guy that her parents approved of. But after 10 years of hard marriage, she began discovering multiple affairs, and he started physically abusing her and their children. But she still didn't have the energy or the willpower to leave him. Now, Amy said that she had been praying for a way out. And 2 opportunities came up for her to make that clean break. First, her mother tried to help her pack up all her things and take the kids to grandma's house to get out one day. But Amy just couldn't do it. She was still missing her power. She couldn't leave him because she was frozen in fear. And it was crazy because her old boyfriend from high school, the one that her parents tragically ripped her away from, came back from the past and was even willing to take her and the kids in. But she still couldn't do it. Even though she'd been praying for a way out, when it came down to making the soul changes needed to escape her situation, she couldn't because she was missing the exact power she'd given away at 16 that she needed to take charge of her love life. Because when we have our power, we can use that energy, that innocence, and vibrate at a higher frequency, above the painful story we create after the soul loss. We feel happy and whole again and attract better circumstances that skip the pain points that we've been repeating. And it is actually pretty hard to describe the powerlessness that we feel unless you've actually have missing pieces. Because when we want to change our worlds, if we're missing that vibration of the piece of power that we're missing, then we do get stuck in those victim-y stories. And those places begin to either fill with walls and blocks, or, we shut other people out who could actually help us heal those wounds. Now, I'm going to give you a big trigger warning. I'm going to tell a part of my story that gets a little rapey, right? Okay, but we got to talk about this as women. We've got to talk about this as a society, because these things are happening and we're not always going forward and healing our wounds. So I wanted to describe what it feels like when you're actually missing that vibration of your power that would change the cycle. I'm going to use me as an example. So I'm going to get personal and share how I felt after the imprint of being raped as a kid by my neighbor. Now, when I was raped as a kid, it took away this crucial boundary and a part of me that could speak up for myself and assert strong boundaries. 1 week before I went to New Mexico to learn soul retrieval, I was raped by my neighbor again, who was a friend of mine as an adult, a completely different person. And when it came down to standing up for myself and fighting off these advances and saying no, I went through all the motions to try to stop him. But the energy I needed to stop the cycle was missing. So my loudest no's felt like whispers. And it was like all of a sudden in that moment, 98% of my strength was gone when I needed it the most. I was barely in my body. Well, there's good news here, because thank freaking God for soul retrieval, because I was able to go back and heal not only the wounds from my childhood and the wounds of being raped again as an adult, but I was also able to release the karmic and the ancestral patterns that were contributing to this crappy pattern. And afterwards, I was able to sit down and confront this person after the soul retrieval and stand in a whole new level of power I had never seen in myself before. Long story short, he could feel it and he was terrified. After the talk and I set those boundaries, he ran off to the car like a little scared animal. And I'll tell you, my vibration is different now. I do not attract that kind of energy because I finally have the power I was missing to change the cycle. And soul retrieval was the tool to help me shift. Now, let's move on to mistake number 3, where we just try to manifest something different. But remember, if you don't address the core wounds in yourself and in your unconscious past, you'll just keep attracting the same cycles, just with different humans and different iterations. So here are some of the reasons that happens. One of the reasons is you may be carrying old vibrations from your parents, your grandparents, or even further back in your ancestral lineage, and even from your past lives too. If there's unresolved patterns in your past, you're likely to keep looping these cycles until you change them. So you guys ready to get nerdy with me? A study done at Emory University revealed a scary link between trauma and genes carrying trauma imprints passed down through multiple generations. In this study, they placed adult male rats in a learning chamber and exposed them to the scent of cherry blossoms while simultaneously administering mild shocks to the rats' feet. 2 weeks later, they bred the traumatized male rats. And interestingly, they found that up to 4 generations later, or as many generations as they tested, the offspring exposed to just the cherry blossom aroma alone triggered a similar trauma response as their ancestral rat, revealing that the trauma response is a learned response passed down through multiple generations. So Cindy has this thing for unavailable men. Maybe some of us on this call can relate to that. She watched her mom play out patterns with her dad, who left her when she was 10, and all the men her mom's dated since have helped to play out similar patterns. Now, Cindy swore she'd never go for that kind of guy, but know this is, whether she likes it or not, she's a magnet for the same freaking pattern. And sometimes these patterns go back for generations. like grandparents who survived the Great Depression, but left you and your parents with scarcity issues that they've passed down. Then you wonder why you can't get money flowing. Multiple studies now show that we pass down our trauma in our DNA, and this is how ancestral patterns begin to play out. And sometimes it's not just about what patterns our ancestors have passed down. Sometimes we get stuck in old patterns because of things that we've been through in our past, in our one singular this lifetime, right? So take Katie, for example, a client of mine who was stuck in an abusive power play with a manipulative boyfriend who was the second of two guys in a row who treated her like crap. But Katie said to me, "My first boyfriend was amazing. I thought he and I were going to get married after dating for 7 years. But then he dumped me when I thought he was going to propose, and I was devastated." Bingo! That was the origin of her wound. Now, with a shamanic healing session that we did, I found that on a deeper level, after the breakup, Katie was heartbroken. She didn't feel worthy or special anymore. And all of a sudden, her vulnerable vibe was on the same level these predatory men were seeking, who ended up dating her afterwards. And I was able to help Katie recover the pieces of her soul who felt so broken after the breakup that actually believed in love and that she was worthy of it. And we were able to shift the old stories around these new bad boys she was attracting who were taking advantage of her right through the place where she was leaking her heart energy. Afterwards, she felt so alive and at peace again. She was able to disengage from the drama, take back her power, and turn her energy inward to heal herself. And I have to say, after trauma, we started attracting the vibration of people who can re-inflict the same sore spots. And we can keep playing out these cycles until we get our power back and change the story. Or, if left unresolved, we pass them on, creating layers of complicated ancestral wounds for our descendants to have to deal with. So, what are some of those old, outdated patterns that you keep seeming to attract? Are there any ones that are coming up for you now that you've heard some more of this presentation? Are there any other patterns that are coming up? So Melanie says, fear of abandonment. So I am not fully vulnerable in this relationship. And Lauren says, drawing a picture for my dad and being so proud of it and him raging at me for it because of its content. Yeah. So thank you for sharing. And, what I want to do now is I want to start to shift some of the ways that we're thinking by understanding what some of these lessons are. But before we get to that, there's a question that I ask my friends, I ask my clients, I ask myself this sometimes. But, if you realize that you've got a shitty pattern going on, when are you willing to get off the ride? So play a game with me right now. Use your imagination to imagine that you're on a roller coaster with this particular looping pattern that you've been dealing with. Maybe it's a scarcity issue. Maybe it's about being vulnerable in a relationship or feeling like you can really fully give your heart, into a relationship because of something that happened in the past. Or maybe it's a cycle of being attracted to unavailable partners. So imagine that you're on this roller coaster and you've been on it for weeks, lifetimes, years. And now the roller coaster is finally pulling into the station. Now, this is a moment where if you wanted to break away from the bad habit or pattern, you could just get off the ride. Or, of course, if you want to stay on the ride again for another cycle, but you already know the twists and turns. You know the ups and downs of the pattern and the loop you're in. So the ride's finally pulling back into the station again. Are you finally ready to get off? So I want you to summon the first pattern that came up for you. Maybe it's the strongest pattern. If you have a couple patterns, you can always listen to the replay and continue to go through these motions to connect in with what wisdom is there. But I'm a firm believer in the fact that everything happens for a reason. And sometimes we have to go through patterns until we learn what wisdom they have for us. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going on an experiential journey, going into a trance-like state using the beat of the drum. Now, this is an ancient shamanic healing technique. It's called the shamanic journey, to be able to connect in this case, with your higher self, but also with your guides and your ancestors to get information and to learn how to heal yourself. And so this is a really fun exercise that we're going to be doing. So I'm just going to ask you to find a quiet place for yourself. Maybe you want to snuggle up into a blanket in your chair. Maybe you want to lay down, whatever feels good for you, because we're going to go into that altered state of consciousness using the beat of the drum, my drum right here. You see a little picture of me with the drum? I got my drum right here. So taking a deep breath in and out, I want you to think about that first pattern that popped up into your head. Again, because in a minute, we're going to journey to understand the lessons of that pattern more fully and discover why you're cycling this pattern and what you're learning from it. So closing your eyes, finding that relaxed state within yourself, turning inward. I'm going to bring in the beat of the drum to help us go into that theta brainwave state between wakefulness and sleep to be able to connect in with the vibration of our guides. I want you to imagine that you're out in nature, walking through the woods. And there's a clearing that calls to you, only a few yards away. As you move towards it, you realize that there's a giant hole in the ground. Maybe this is a hole in the earth, the opening to a cave, the hole in a tree. Whatever it appears like for you, I want you to imagine, with your imagination, moving into this hole in the earth, moving down, down, down through this tunnel, feeling the cold soil, the different layers of sediment as you descend into the earth, following this tunnel, noticing that there's a beam of light on the other side, the opening to the exit. I want you to imagine moving through this hole now, seeing that light manifest as a new, fresh landscape on the other side. Taking a moment to look around, to take in your surroundings. Notice if there's any guides or any animals that come to greet you at your side. In the distance, you notice that there's a bright light flashing in your direction. Imagine moving with your guide who takes you right to this light that you notice as you get closer is a giant mirror showing you your true reflection. Now, this is a very special mirror, and when you look into it, if you look deeply enough, you can see your higher self, your oversoul, who you truly are in this lifetime and in all lifetimes. I want you to ask your higher self to show up as that reflection in the mirror and notice if that reflection changes for you. Noticing if your outfit changes, your face changes. Again, calling on your higher self, your oversoul, from you in this lifetime and all lifetimes. Summon that reflection and just notice how you look. Asking this reflection of your divine true self if there's a message for you, and listen to receive it. What is the message for me now from my higher self? now I want you to summon the thought of that pattern or that cycle that you continue to play out. Imagine it between you and your reflection of your true self, your oversoul, and ask your higher self, what do I need to know about this pattern? What do I need to know about this pattern? Asking, what is this pattern teaching me now? What is this pattern teaching me now? And see what answer comes. Now I want you to ask your higher self, what are the lessons that I am meant to learn from this pattern? What are the lessons that I am meant to learn from this pattern? I want you to ask your higher self if there is one last message that you need to hear at this time. What is it that I need to know right now, right from my higher self? And see what your reflection says. Thanking your reflection. Sending love and gratitude for your higher self, your oversoul. Asking for one last reflection before we journey back. What would it look like, dear higher self? Show us the vision of what it looks like when we release this pattern. Show us a vision of what it looks like to release this pattern. Taking that vision into your heart, thanking your higher self, and beginning to turn and walk back through that trail, back through that tunnel, all the way back through the woods, all the way back to yourself in this time and space of now. Taking a deep breath in and out. And slowly making your way back to your full consciousness in this time and place of now. And I'd love to hear from whoever is willing to share. What does it look like if you take your power back from that pattern? Was there anything interesting that came up for your journey that you want to share, or a message that surprised you that you maybe didn't expect to receive? Now, Rachel said, thank you so much for the powerful journey. And, even if you don't feel called to share, I hope that you had a vision of something really beautiful that helps you along your way, learning the lessons of what it is that we need to understand so that we can release the patterns. Because I truly believe that our patterns come to teach us a lesson. And if we don't learn that lesson, they're just going to keep coming back. And again, part of learning that lesson is taking your power back from that pattern. So coming back to our presentation and wrapping up that experiential, what does it look like to have your power back from that pattern? What if you had actual action steps and a soul-guided playbook to take back your power and change the stories in your life? Because we've learned a lot today, right? We've learned that parts of the soul can leave the body due to trauma, and that we can give away our power, and that trauma can get passed down your ancestral lineage and affect the future. So the question becomes, what do we do about it? How do we get our life light back? Now, soul retrieval has totally changed my life and helped me get huge stores of energy back from the past that were stuck in old stories. And because I've gotten so much energy back, it's now become my mission to share these tools so that you can access your true power too. And that's why I've distilled the last decade of my training in psychology, art therapy, holistic nutrition, and shamanism into my signature online program, Truly Transformation. In today's masterclass, we looked at the concept of soul retrieval, which is only a taste of one of the 8 modules I share inside this comprehensive, experientially based course. Now, soul retrieval is deep work, and there's several crucial steps you need to master before unlocking that powerful building block. And I cover all the bases in my step-by-step program, Truly Transformation. So I'm going to share with you a little video I made of a sneak peek about what is inside. In Truly Transformation, I boil down my biggest lessons and show you the ancient tools to awaken your intuition, activate your innate superpowers, and connect in with your spirit guides. Inside Truly Transformation, you'll learn soul retrieval for self-healing, how to heal your chakras, how to tap into your divine wisdom and connect in with your spirit guides, how to release negative patterns, and how to manifest your deepest desires. Inside Truly Transformation, you'll get lifetime access to 8 modules, 23 90-minute training workshops, 8 meditations, 9 rituals, 24 worksheets, 3 guest speaker workshops on astrology, numerology, 9 mini training videos on energy clearing and soul retrieval, and 17 sacred shamanic journeys teaching you how to access the divine wisdom of your guides. So, if you're ready to finally step out of your rut, actually achieve your goals, and have the positive energy and passion to do it, then Truly Transformation is for you. And I'm not surprised you're here right now. This is an amazing opportunity to get the big shifts and the upgrades you've been dreaming of. Now, if you get your sacred yes and you want to seize this timely opportunity to transcend the old and truly transform your life inside out, then enroll right now and don't wait another freaking second. Your future self will never be happier if you made the choice to reclaim your power. Join Truly Transformation by clicking on the enroll button, and I'll see you on the inside. I wanted to go a little bit deeper into what some of those modules look like, to break them down, because there's 8 amazing modules and they're all step-by-step tools. So in module 1, you find your true north, and you'll learn the ancient techniques for connecting with your guides and assemble your sacred spirit team to help you rise into your highest vibration for the rest of the program. In module 2, we step into our true temple. Because many of us who are empathic and have been through trauma, it can be really hard for us to stay connected to the body. And in this module, we focus on healing the physical body, eating in alignment with our body type, and how to release physical blocks through a series of easy-to-use techniques. In module 3, we work on cleansing your chakras. Discover where you're harboring old stories and blocks ready to be transformed into freed up energy. In module 4, we anchor in with the ancestors, going from recreating the past to liberating ourselves and our future and our entire lineage. Now, we have the ability to change those stories handed down to us and to heal our future bloodlines. And the deep work to free our future starts here. Now, in module 5, which is of course my favorite, we dive into these ancient shamanic healing techniques for soul retrieval to reclaim lost pieces of the soul with these step-by-step exercises for self-healing. And in module 6, we go from cycles of old to rewriting your soul's code as we clear out the cobwebs and energetic skeletons from the closet and transmute them into sheer wisdom, compassion, and power. In module 7, I share my best kept secrets to manifesting the life you want by using sacred shamanic rituals to materialize your dreams. And in module 8, we integrate and nurture the incredible uploads and up-leveling in a way that helps you figure out exactly what's next. So don't just take my word for it. This is what some of my tribe are saying about Truly Transformation. Lorena says, I've been feeling so much more grounded, invigorated, and present. I felt tremendous shifts within myself and in my life since the program, and I'm really excited for all the shifts and healing to come. Brianna says, Truly Transformation allowed me to listen with receptivity to what my inner being was trying to tell me about my blocks to love. Since joining Truly Transformation, I have met a special person in a magical and synchronistic way. The amount of content was amazing and very thorough. Kristen says, days after you taught us the first manifestation rituals, I landed a new job with better pay, awesome employers, and flexibility to work from home and travel. I never could have believed it would be so easy to land my dream career with the techniques that you taught us. I'm on cloud 9. And Cynthia says, I definitely noticed some major shifts in my life, which came in very steadily but powerfully. Truly Transformation helped me become more grounded, believe in my own power, and helped me get clear about my long-term career and life goals, which I needed since I had previously had no idea which direction to go. Now, Truly Transformation is right for you if you want to awaken your intuition, activate your true superpowers that only you have, and connect in with your spirit guides. It's for you if you want more tools to heal yourself and others and find your soul path. If you want to overcome old patterns for a fresh start, and if you're ready to step into your power and create positive change. Now, whether you just want these tools for self-healing, or if you have that deeper intuitive call to help others, this program is totally your first step. Now, if you know you've got healing energy, which I'm sure everyone on this webinar does, because this is the time for the light workers to rise. And if you know that you're meant to empower people with your gifts and are looking to deepen your knowledge of shamanism and skills like soul retrieval, entity release, and past life healing, then I invite you to the opportunity for my practitioner training, where I teach these skills at an advanced level. Now, these are in-person trainings to teach you to become a shamanic practitioner, and Truly Transformation is the foundation and the prerequisite for these deeper shamanic teacher initiations. So if the shamanic path calls to you, then Truly Transformation is definitely your first step. Now, usually for such an in-depth comprehensive training, combining tools like energy healing, psychology, holistic nutrition and shamanism, and the best tools from a decade of study with more than 15 different shamanic and indigenous healers, we'd be talking a healthy investment. And what are the pieces of your lost soul, your power, worth to you? They're priceless, right? To have the energy back to heal your past and create newer, healthier patterns to improve your life. But I'm not going to charge you an arm and a leg. I'm not even going to charge you a fraction of what I've invested because of how important it is to me that all humans have access to these tools. In fact, I've even decided to take an additional $1,000 off for you just for taking the time out of your busy day to geek out about soul retrieval with me over the last hour. Now, usually this offer is $24.97, but for the next 24 hours, I'm offering you access to the entire program for just $14.97. But this offer is only for those ready to step up and take action now, because the price for this program will be going back up at the end of the 24-hour window. So you've got this special opportunity to snag it at this price. And I guarantee you and your holistic health are worth the investment, because the world needs you now to shine your light and to be whole. Because your wholeness heals and inspires others and makes this world a better place. Because you, standing in your power and making better choices for yourself, heals the collective and it heals the earth. And I hope today that I've inspired you, because now is the time to be that change. And it starts with each of us stepping up. Now, I want to call up some of the anxieties, because these always come up for us, right? When we're on the brink of a breakthrough, that's when the ugly fears come up. Like, can I afford this? Will I be able to do this? Do I have the time? So let's be honest. Fear is a normal part of life, but it stands between you and the things you really want. If you're finding excuses or feeling any sense of fear about joining this program, then let's lean into those fears. Let's call them forward and see who they are and learn from the lessons they're teaching us. So we're going to do another experiential here, because I love really talking to our shadow, and we're just going to see what's coming up for us. So take a moment and close your eyes. And I want you to notice the first area of resistance or energy that pops up for you. Maybe it's a sensation in your body. Maybe it's like a ball of stuck energy in your throat. Whatever it is, just notice it. Be with it. Does it have a color or a shape? Ask your higher self to shine a light of truth on this energy. Ask that energy to fully manifest so that you can have a heart-to-heart chat with it. And you can ask that energy, hey, what are you? What do you represent? And see if it gives you an answer. Ask that energy, what are you teaching me now by showing up? What are you teaching me now by showing up? What do you need to tell me right now? And see what comes up for you. Now I want you to thank that energy for its teaching. Now I want you to see your light. Remember that higher self, that beacon of truth within us? I want you to ask, what is my truth? And see what your soul says. What is my truth? Now, once you hear this divine message from your soul, ask the light to shine within and notice if there's any other fears in your inner world. Do you see anything trying to move or hide, or anything that is actually trying to make itself known? Just notice the first sensation in your body and be with it. Does this energy have a texture, a color, or a shape? Ask your higher self to shine a light of truth on this energy. And ask that energy to fully manifest so that you can chat. What do you represent? What are you teaching me now by showing up? What is it that you need to tell me right now? And just listen, hold space for this energy. And you can thank it for its messages. And now I want you to come back to your light, to your higher self, to your truth. What is your truth? Just thanking yourself for bringing some light in here and sharing with you what your truth is. And, the truth is that it's only you who can make the time for what matters in life and decide who and what in your life takes priority. You're the captain of your ship. So where are you going? Are you investing in yourself and in your soul's development? Or are you giving away your energy to others and making excuses when it comes to receiving medicine for your soul? Because truly transformation only connects you more fully into alignment with your spirit and your team of guides and these ancient tools to help unlock your blocks. And I've done the hard part, searching the world for time-tested tools that actually work in shifting your energy and shifting your life. And they've broken down the most potent healing tools into easy, fun, step-by-step exercises so that you don't have to be an energy expert or know anything about shamanism to start making soul-level changes. Plus, you'll have lifetime access to all these incredible training sessions forever. So literally, if you need an energy tune-up, you'll have all the tools you need to align with your true self and get right back on your path to personal greatness. And seriously, the real question really is, when are you gonna get off the ride of old patterns and lingering heartache? Because if you're ready to take back your power and be whole again, and if you're ready to raise your vibration and learn to attract what you actually want, and if you want to have access to all of your energy, passion, and joy, then this is the sign that you've been looking for. So what are you waiting for? Take advantage of this amazing 24-hour offer and snag lifetime access to these incredible tools by enrolling in Truly Transformation today. And of course, here's the link to that special activation meditation as my thank you for sticking around to the end of the webinar. And now I'm going to share that with you in links over here because it's an awesome meditation. I use this one all the time. I channeled this at 5 in the morning on one of the solstices last year, and it was it's dynamite. I love this one, so I wanted to share this with you. And I am going to end my slide presentation here, and I am going to come and show you my lovely face. And Lena says, my higher self said to surrender to the flow, to release control. My higher self said that I will get the impulses from my intuition that will lead me along the path to new clients. So there is nothing to worry about. I am fully supported. I am fully taken care of. This is an incredibly important impasse for me. And it's teaching me that I am powerful and I am free. I am taking back my agency in life. I can feel rich and happy, fully supported and surrounded by unconditional love. That's so juicy. I love that, Lena. I want that for you too. And I want that for all of us because now is really that moment in time where we get this opportunity to decide if we want to change the foundations in our life and create the life that we actually want. And there's no better time than now to step into that. So I hope that this resonated with you. I hope you got something really amazing out of this presentation. And I really hope that some of you get that sacred yes and that call to step into Truly Transformation with me, because it's filled with so many tools. I'm not the guru here. I introduce you to the guru who is you. And so these tools are really amazing for helping you to step into that self-agency, step into your power and your passion and your purpose in life, and also learn really cool skills to connect in with your guides, heal yourself, heal your ancestral line, and to be able to step forward to manifest from this new place of cleared energy, freed up energy, so that you can actually go after what you want and not attract more of what you don't. Right? That's what we all want here in life. So I want to say thank you so much. If there's no other questions, then I send you so many blessings. Thank you so much for spending some time with me and showing up for yourself. And I hope that the divine wisdom of your soul continues to guide you every step of the way. And I hope to see some of you in Truly Transformation. Mwah. Sending lots of love, big hugs, and I'll see you all soon.